Yes, so human-centered AI, so it's basically defined as the development of artificial intelligence or AI technologies that prioritize human needs, values, and capabilities. And it aims to ensure that teams create AI systems that enhance human capabilities and well-being rather than replacing or diminishing human roles. Now, if you think about the self-driving car example here, so what is it trying to do? Is it trying to enhance human capabilities or trying to replace or diminish human roles?
I think by enhancing you will inevitably replace.
Yes. Well, enhance, no, that doesn't need to be. So, Paul, explain more.
So if I have like I have like a person, I have Debian, and I have like an AI system.
No.
So if I have like a choice between like a person who has a person capabilities and then an AI system, but I don't know, more fun, like it is faster, more efficient, more energy efficient, and more probably cheaper to afford also. Probably I will inevitably go for the more efficient, cheaper version than the person. So when we say probably like the objective of building the system is not replacing human roles, but it will inevitably end up in replacing the people.
Yeah, so in many cases, yeah, it can end up. But the question is, do we want that?
That's what, like, I don't think it's a question of do we want that, but most of these, especially social robots like a driver or a teacher or a surgeon, like most of these roles that are like, that can easily be replaceable actually, and it is being replaced.
Yeah.
So if like if I want, like if I am running a, if I have a business of like I don't know what business, if I have a school or if I have a cab company, then like I would probably prefer like machines which probably need maintenance works once in 5 years, rather than like people whom I have to pay every month, the DA, insurance, all that.
Yeah.
So I think it's not. I don't think it's about like do we need that, but it will get there. I don't think we can unless.
Yeah. So it's also about choices. So it's not a yes and no choice.
It is not about what a desired outcome, but rather an inevitable.
Yeah, but what I mean is that it's not a kind of there are so going forward is inevitable. That's right.
Yes.
But what kind of future? There are many options where the future could be, and we have. So perhaps we don't land in an optimal future, but we probably don't want to end up in the bad place either. So somewhere in the middle is the place where I would like to be.
That's what, like, so if when we think about like okay, let's build machines that will like this one of these major arguments about self-driving cars is that it will reduce that labor of driving.
Yeah.
But for somebody who was like a CEO or probably like a professor, it's an added labor. But for a driver, it is her or his like livelihood.
Yeah.
So now it's not an added labor for some people, right? It is the labor for some people.
Yeah.
So when we think about like making an efficient system, for whom are we making this efficient system?
That's a good question. Yes.
So now then I think there is the question of class, caste, or all kinds of race. There are a lot of biases that will come in, and then probably we'll end up making this for like the most privileged group.
Yes, and that's usually the outcome. Yes, but that's the things exactly why we are here for. So
actually, it helps to prioritize human needs, values, and capabilities.
Sorry,
so we are thinking only.
Microphone. Yeah.
We are thinking only about driverless cars.
Yeah.
There are driverless boats in Singapore, and which could be used for tourism. And people can, whenever they want, they can just go in that yacht and visit places, have fun, and come back. Okay, so that is happening. And thirdly, there are we should prioritize areas where we should use this. For example, in India, when they want to clean sewage or so they are using manual labor. Now, if you have a self-driving robot or something which can go and blast those clogs and clean that area and bring it, clean our roads, okay? So those are the areas which will help to, and we need that in every village, every town, every city, and infinite applications are there for such type of things. Let's say somebody has to replace bulbs. Currently they are using human beings, and those people are very careless. You give them the best of the guards, they will not use it. They will not use it. They go, climb the pole, get electric shock and die there.
Yeah.
Now if you have a driverless robot which goes and replaces that and bring it, those are the areas we should make use of this AI technology. And that is where it is helping prioritize our human needs, values, capabilities, and it is enhancing our abilities, because I can manage the entire street light area of this entire area. So I can, through a control room, I can manage all that. But there will be agents which is going there and managing each and every pore, each and every gutter, each and every...
But so here also, perhaps I introduce one more concept here. So usually in the projects where I work, to quite many problems, AI is not the right solution.
So we need to tailor it. Yes, that something what we have done is good, but now we should see where we can use it, which are the areas which are prioritized.
But I can say that about any job. Like I can say that about a professor, a teacher. Wherever there are people, wherever human beings are doing that, there is a human error.
Yes.
So that, like, people who are changing the bulb or cleaning the gutter, they have errors. Also surgeons have errors.
Yes.
Also administrative, any human being have that. So that argument, I don't think it's enough to sort of justify, that alone will not really justify this fault, because that can be said about any.
Yes, and that's interesting that, for example, now the self-driving cars have one-tenth of the amount of accidents that humans have, and still people don't trust them, even they are factually safer currently.
There are some departments. There are some areas where there is no scope for error being tolerated. So, for example, if I was, let's say, building an aeroplane, and so aeroplanes are formally verified.
Yeah.
So let's say now they go through that trouble because even a little bit up and down can kill like 100 people. So like 0.01% error over there could be fatal, but 0.01% error when, let's say, I'm like constructing this pen would just mean like a loss of 10 rupees or something.
Yeah.
So.
But the interesting thing is that the airplanes are a good example in that kind of massively more people die in traffic with cars, and really the kind of street safety should be the priority if you want to reduce. So, but clearly it's not the priority currently. But air traffic priority, kind of safety is a priority somehow. And why are we different for cars and cars are more dangerous than airplanes?
Yeah, but I guess the error is not propagated. Like error in constructing a car. Let's say if we're going towards constructing car. Like error when you're constructing a car may not necessarily be propagated across all cars.
No, but not just cars, but also street design, like how and kind of policing streets.
There may be some amount of malleability, as in you can put traffic controllers at different places, and like even if you get a design bad when you're constructing a street, you can probably put barricades or something. Don't go here.
Yeah. But I'm driving at is that I think that the perception of like trust is different.
Oh, yes.
In these high consequence things where many people are involved in a single error, even if on average it's less bad, but somehow we humans feel more bad about cases where lots of people die at one go than millions dying in the streets every day.
Yeah, that's also, there is some bias in that area.
Yes.
I also think it's
possible to escape a car crash, but I don't think you can escape a
Yes,
plane crash.
but that just so that local said that kind of you can get car crashes where you are only mildly hurt or not hurt at all, but still like the statistics is that more people get killed in cars than or per mile, so per transported meter or
Also, I don't think you can actually escape human errors by building AI, because AI will have human errors. We'll be probably making different errors,
exactly.
but it will still carry forward all the human biases, all the human errors in some other format.
And also a new biases and new errors.
Yes.
But I was still wanting to go back to the light bulb example. So I don't think the AI is the right solution for that. Kind of very stick with the grabber at the end. Costs like $100 or $100 euros, and you can change the lamps with very cheap things.
No, not
And-
only
and- and
replacing the bulb. See, sometimes that the overhead lines, they cut.
Yeah, but so I think there are like cheap solutions to that problem, and when we have cheap solutions, we should do the cheap solutions rather than the expensive AI.
No, AI should create a cheap solution. That's why we are going for AI. AI
All right.
should not create expensive solution.
Yeah.
So then it was rocket technology, which was inaccessible to people.
Yes.
So since now AI is accessible to people, everybody is going
Mhm.
one behind it.
So my kind of take on this human-centric AI, or human-centered or human-centric, and I never remember if it's human-centric or human-centered. I mix them up. But so I like to think of it as kind of focusing on users, communities, and society explicitly, so that you really think through what are the effects of a service of each group. Like a focused studies on all levels. It's a good starting point for human-centered AI. And there was actually a video that I wanted to show here. Does it work right away if I just press on clicks on that?
Let's start with a definition about what ethical AI is. What ethical AI does is it seeks to promote fairness, minimize harm, and align AI with human values and well-being. And if I'm a designer and I'm working in ethical AI, one of the questions that I really want to ask is, how do I design artificially intelligent systems that follow ethical principles in society? When we think about the practice of building AI systems, ethical AI is that practice that follows ethical and moral standards in society. But it is dynamic, right? As AI changes, ethical AI must change to keep momentum and to keep pace with the advent of AI technology. So one of the big questions that ethical AI asks as a bird's eye perspective of what AI is what are the legitimate and illegitimate uses of AI? One of the things that we talk about a lot in ethical AI is transparency, which basically is exactly what it sounds like. You're allowing users to understand how decisions are made in the AI systems that they're using. So this really what it does is it builds trust with the user, and it builds that relationship where it enables the user to really assess how the system has a behavior for bias and fairness, and it really allows them to see, like what's going on in the background when they're using these AI systems. There's accountability, which is basically that the designers, the developers, the organizations, basically every stakeholder that has some sort of stake in the matter, whether and even users, they should be held accountable for the impact and consequences of AI systems. So this means things like ease of troubleshooting, ease of understanding maybe what errors are there, how to address those errors. Like those mechanisms should all be included within the system, within the AI system that they're using. And then there's fairness. So outcomes should be fair and equitable for users. And by mitigating bias and addressing disparities in AI outcomes, this can be achieved. Definitely easier said than done, as we'll see in a bit, but this is the whole concept of just making sure that things are equitable and that outcomes aren't biased or favored towards one demographic or one region or one area or person or industry based off of another. And privacy. So individuals have rights on their privacy and data, right? Especially we've been through a lot of like consumer data laws. So the whole concept is built upon like these systems have to be built to handle user privacy and data in a secure and ethical manner. And information should definitely be obtained consensually, which not only means that like me as a user am giving my data and consenting to my data being given, but I also understand what it means to permission a system to have my data. Like, are they going to sell it? What are they going to do with it? I as a user should have a very thorough understanding of that. And so that understanding should be accessible amongst everyone. That's basically the idea of privacy and ethical AI.
So, back to the slides. Yes. So we will have more. So basically, this part comes quite a lot of that web page, which was also linked there. But so we have a few more videos on the page we are going to look at. But so the traditional AI versus the human-centered AI. So the focus on the traditional AI is the efficiency and accuracy, and quite often it replaces humans. Now, for example, it's self-driving cars replace the drivers with a computer. Whereas human-centered AI is more focused on human needs and values. And more often it's about augmenting. So, for example, in self-driving car, making driving easier, making it nicer, more comfortable, not only comfortable, but just more pleasurable. Sometimes that can be that it will be complete self-driving. Sometimes it could be that mean that it's just more fun. That's also could be a solution. But then, of course, also this ethically aligned things can be part of it. Now, I tried to create AI pictures here to reflect those two approaches. And the standard factory is the kind of old-fashioned way of using AI. And we need that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that. But there's lots of cases where we don't want to replace. So kind of replacing factory work, we have to ask ourselves, is that something we want to do? Is that valuable work? Or is that a valuable way of living the factory work? I'm not to judge that. It's our joint, so that society level question of what kind of work is valuable for humans. But then helping like a home assistant as a robot is much more aligned with the ethical approach, or the human-centered AI approach. Here, so in education, for example, now, in a teaching setting, automatic grading could be one thing which we could do here if one would like to do that. I could generate content automatically. Here I have generated pictures automatically. And more efficient teaching, yes, I saved lots of time in making these slides by using automatically generated pictures. But then human-centric AI would be adapting to the individual user. So now adjusting the level of teaching or like the perspective to each student. Now, for example, we have engineers here and we have philosophers here. perhaps I should talk differently to these two groups. But on the other hand, right in this setting now, the discussion that I hope to give is actually the important part. So I actually want to have the cross-fertilization of the different viewpoints. But so the aim is then to improve learning experience. So not just improve learning, but the experience, so that you feel good when we are learning things. I think automatic grading, yeah, that's benefit mostly for the teacher, and quite often it's actually detrimental to the learning experience because the exercises are more structured when you use automatic grading. Healthcare, another example. So data processing, finding structures in data, that's very good. Yes, automated diagnostics, identifying tumor on the picture, useful. So just have more efficient healthcare. That's a goal. But also considering the patient comfort, listening to the human. Do you feel good now? Do you feel heard? Is the system hearing you? And do you feel like you are understood? And also respect the psychological state. When you are sick, quite often you have fears. If there's an automatic robot coming and touching you places, they might increase the fear, and that's not what we want. So the improved care is the goal. And they are overlapping partly. So with more efficient care, perhaps you can do higher quality as well. But they are the same goals. And automated industry, we already talked about that. So for example now, so they are then optimized for convenience. And that's a fair goal in traditional AI, but for human-centric AI, we should rethink the service model. So rather than owning your own self-driving car, we should focus on taxi services, such that the cars can optimize the transports. For example, now I know that in Finland there are some transport companies, so not human transport, but kind of transporting goods, where they try to optimize it such that clients from the same area are picked up after each other, such that we can optimize the overall kind of efficiency of that. That's good use of AI because it kind of optimizes efficiency, even if it's now in a traditional category. Or adapt to driving style, that's also good. So just improve the experience of all the transport. All right, discussion part. When do we have the tea?
4 o'clock.
Sorry?
Sorry, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, okay. So let's see what we have here. So yes, let's take still a short discussion about this thing. So let's have a 5-minute discussion in smaller groups. Pick one AI application. So, and I recommend to choose a specific system. Like, now, for example, now we mentioned the YouTube recommendation system. That's then a specific provider, a specific functionality. But now we already mentioned that. So don't all take YouTube recommendations as the example. But try to be very specific, and then we can think about what is the design focus. Is it trying to optimize efficiency or the experience or care or something else? Let's make now a bit larger groups, like four or five people. So for example here, the two first ones, and then back there will be one group. And here I think we have probably 3 groups, more or less. And 5 minutes, choose one application and identify the design focus of that application. And in the breakout room, hopefully we have breakout room now for the remote.
P requires the speed from the top, P requires
What is the design focus? So if it's something that we are all familiar with, we can all think about it. In our, then if you have anything, face recognition, right? Okay, face recognition is, it's like in the phone. Okay, it's just like face recognition.
Identify only your voice.
Understood.
Authentication.
But that already exists, no, in phones and all. No.
See, that's what I'm having a discussion. For me, like anything that is entertainment, like interviews or simply.
So at the 10-minute tea break and we'll continue here. Sorry? So tea is not here yet. So then we have the kind of summary discussion now. So, please, we continue a bit more. Tea is not here. So, let's start. Let's start for this group here. So first explain what was your application, and then a discussion about the design.
So the example.
The microphone. Microphone.
So the discussion was on a speaker verification system and how it can be spoofed, or
Okay.
how,
More specifically, in what kind of scenario?
for example, speaker verification on my phone.
Okay.
Instead of facial recognition, I have voice recognition.
Okay.
So people can record my voice and replay.
Mm-hmm.
That is one spoofing technique.
Yeah.
And or instead of Alexa's voice, they can replace it with my voice using a voice conversion system.
Yeah.
And use that audio to play.
Okay.
So fake speech detection system is essential.
Yes, but so now we understand the context of the problem. So what is the design focus? So what are they aiming at with this system?
Okay. So there are two ways to ensure security.
Yeah.
One is spoofing aware speaker verification system, and the second one is speech anti-spoofing system or fake speech detection system that can be cascaded with this speaker verification system, such that it removes the synthesized speech or replayed speech and only the bona fide speech can be passed.
Okay.
So one thing regarding the trustworthiness.
Yeah.
So this system is built for protecting the speaker verification system, but this itself can be spoofed away.
Yeah. But this is still the kind of like the engineering solution. How does the user feel about that?
I really have to say this. Also, I think it's going to be like a very unethical way of the training data. The training the AI is going to be like extremely unethical, because when I give permission for my phone access to sort of my videos or like my photos, or even like if I have a voice some voice command on in my phone, I've given my phone access, and it's possible that my phone company can later decide, okay, I'm using all this data to develop something, and then they're going to have to let me know that they are using my data. So I think this is like there is a very potential big privacy breach there.
Yeah, that's all. So any question is again, what is the design goal of the voice recognition system?
Security, but then it is again comes back and there is a threat to security also.
Yeah, that's all. But if they reuse the data for developing other things,
yes,
then they actually, the design focus is not security; it's about the data collection.
The design data, I think it's exclusivity and security probably, like again exclusively.
Yeah. Okay. That's all. Okay. So let's say security is a valid aim, but is that more than traditional or more human-centric?
This is human-centric, I feel.
Do everyone feel the same? Are there arguments against and kind of for it and against it?
In today's world, we definitely need.
So so we need of course, yes, security. That's in that sense it is. But does it make the human feel more secure?
If we have a good enough fake speech detection system
Yeah.
to combat text to speech, to combat voice machine synthesized speech. If it is good enough and it has been shown to be robust enough, so people would feel that they are secure in attacks.
So how did they get the information? So just someone's shaking their head behind you.
I will feel deeply threatened by something like that. I will not be secured at all.
Exactly. So that's what I'm getting at. That it might be secure, but do the users feel it's secure? That is the question. And that's part of the design question. Is it designed for people to feel secure, to be secure and to feel secure? And I'm not, I see that it has more or less as a traditional approach.
Here the security that it's offering is a material security, and it's like completely bypassing or like overlooking the psychological aspects of.
Yes, exactly, that's the point. So overlooking psychological aspects. That's one of the key things here. Now we go to the next group here. I can leave it with me. Next group. How many much more already?
Here we have decided to speak on color shading generation machine. Say in commercial applications, say people they want to have different color shades. So basically from GBR, 3 colors combination, so you can get different colors. So by the design focus by changing the percentage of colors. So you can get the different shades where it is for human beings it's very difficult to show.
In what kind of applications?
Textile industries to produce different fabrics. Yeah. Even in white also there are hundreds of whites. Like paper white, cotton white, like that. In green also we have different greens. So this becomes, there is no question of trust, nothing. You see and trust it. So that is the where we can employ AI. We can replace human beings and human beings will also be very happy because where human beings are not able to produce such a varieties of shades.
Colors. Is the variety of colors what humans want?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a very big answer. That sounds a bit too quick to me. So if you go to a shop and see a million different colors, is that a good shop then?
So you can have varieties of shades and people can select those everything. You can see it, but virtually you can see it.
Okay.
And then, so you'll be knowing the percentage of color in that shade. So it can be, you can produce in bulk. So in textile industry also you can have different fabrics of different shades.
But again, like in the previous, it sounds very engineering oriented, that we get more colors is good in an engineering perspective. But I would like to see like evidence that, or like some argument that this is actually what customers want. So when a person goes to the shop to buy clothes, I feel like I don't need a million colors of choice. I need the ones which fit me. I don't want to have more. I think only 5 colors, those which fit me. And then 9,000 others are extra. So more colors is not the right choice for me. I just want to have the right colors.
See, I think in his case, not only the colors, even the texture also matters. And AI only can help to do it. I have worked in textile industry selling sewing threads. So you have so people want standardization. Suppose if they want to give uniform to people in the company. If you are giving blue shirt, everybody's blue varies.
Yes.
Everybody's khaki color varies. Yes. They don't want that. They want it to be uniform color, uniform shade. Yeah. To produce that, it's a very big challenge.
Yes.
Because manually they try to tinker with those dyes and it definitely change. Only AI can ensure that is done. And it is not only this. Today we have, see, she is keeping a bindi on her forehead, so they manufacture that. Maintaining a standard color is a very difficult thing. They do adulteration.
Yes.
AI can help in finding out the adulteration.
Yes. So
that is a human-centered AI.
That's all. Yes.
So that is where it has to be adapted. They can also misuse using that AI, trying to make a duplicate color like that, but then their texture and their composition will vary, it will be harmful.
Yes.
Again, AI only can find out immediately whether it is harmful or harmless.
Yes. Okay. We need to get more opinions on board here. So my opinion is that so that getting more colors is yes useful and important, and that it's a step in the process. But for the customer-facing application, you need to think about what the individual wants, and more is not always better. It's having the right values is important. So it's a yes and we need this, your system, and we need more. Let's go to the next group. And be mindful to give everyone a chance to talk.
Our topic is AI in healthcare, diagnosis with cancer patients in an early stage, so that I'm starting the treatment in the early stage itself to increase the survival rate. By giving the statistics of the survival rate for the early detection, we are boosting their confidence, like, okay, there is more chances of survival when you go for early detection. And AI will help them to find early detection than going through the normal process. Our focus is on healthcare.
Yeah. Okay. And so thinking about let's say your grandmother goes to a doctor, has this kind of analysis on her. How does she feel about it?
Actually, no one goes with the happiness to hospital, but the moment they see a doctor in a traditional way, when they say like you are being affected or by any disease, they shatter a lot. So here using AI, we can give a confidence like after early detection, when you go in a traditional way, suddenly they don't diagnose. They start the procedure like multiple procedure testing, and those testing takes a lot of time to find the results and all. But if you use an AI and they could make a prediction whether the person is affected or not in a day or a week, then they can start immediately the treatment, and we can give a confidence to the patients since you have come early and you are detected also early, and we are going to start a treatment soon. The survival rate is more, so nothing to worry. Yeah, by showing the statistics chart of the survival rate who have gone through the AI detection and the statistical chart of the person who have gone through the traditional way.
Yeah. So will your grandmother understand the statistical charts?
Making her to understand in a traditional language, so there we can use speech-to-speech translation to make her understand in her way, or that's what we can do.
Yeah. Okay. So is that speech translation that translating the technical jargon to grandmother jargon, is that part of the design that you're working on?
Yeah. No. That yeah,
so I mean that is kind of the question. So is the end user really involved in the whole design project? So what type of support do they want? Of course, your work is important in kind of identifying that disease. It's needed to build the end product, but you have to then, before you give the end product, you need to involve the end user in design. But the question is, what is then the how would we involve that? That's then a bigger question. I hope we can discuss it more later. And then what was the next group here? That's all.
So the AI applications that we chose are Google Assistant and Siri. The AI applications that we chose are Google Assistant and Siri. So Google Assistant is able to, in real time, change its response based on the prompt that you give to it. So for example, if you say, call mummy, it will automatically use the phone application. But if you say call another name, such as call Aryan, it will ask you which application you want to call that person with. So you could probably consider this human-centric design because it's able to change its response based on how you are asking it. And another thing is, whatever you ask Google Assistant, like in some way it is kind of like reflected across the other products. So for example, sir was saying, sir gets recommendations about where to travel and what kind of ads based on what he says what he talks to Google Assistant about. So I mean that may not so that probably could be considered human-centric AI because it's kind of factoring in the inputs from the human being. And another thing is the same kind of maybe, but of course this kind of still goes into recommendation systems again, but Facebook kind of shows you ads based on how you interact with posts and so on. And so the human-centric, a conclusion that we kind of came up with was that building human-centric systems kind of raises an important question whether you might be infringing like the rights of privacy of the users who are actually using their systems. So part of our discussion was on that. For example, someone over here said that they get mails every 6 months about where they traveled and so on. Even though Google may be using it as a form of human-centric AI to improve their systems, but like the extent to which they're tracking us, it may not necessarily be ethical. These were the primary applications that we looked into.
Yeah. And what is the business model of Google? So where do they get the money?
They get it from advertisers. So advertisers.
Yes. What data does the advertiser use?
The data that they use is the videos that we visit, that's logged and that's
so all our data, so everything we have on Google we use for advertising. So
yes.
So the overall business model that is the kind of aim that they have to get money from advertising.
Yes.
They also provide convenience to users.
Yes.
Of course, you can. I mean, of course, this is the devil's advocate approach to say this way. You can also say that they fund their kind of activities with advertising, so that we get useful services.
Yes.
You can argue both sides, but answering the question without thinking about advertising is not enough.
Yes. It is a double-edged sword, unfortunately. But I guess, there's no real way we can extricate ourselves from the system also.
Yeah.
If we do, we probably won't be able to survive in this world to some extent. So I guess we have no choice.
Oh yeah. Also, we are engineers. We are creating the tools.
Yes. That's right. So we are creating our own destruction.
So we can make choices. Yeah.
So our group discussion was focused on Spotify. Right?
Yeah.
So in terms of Spotify, the recommendation algorithm itself, has gone into what is your mood, emotions, based on previous songs you have listened to, as well as what are the songs you are intending to listen to, and all those stuff. So they embedded the human centricity to basically enhance your experience. Although like in terms of although it is like improving the recommendation, right? There is no for me, at least my take, right? Apart from the group, right? Like entertainment can only go a long way, basically. It cannot. Like even if you do a lot of human value also, right? Whatever value design you do in terms of entertainment, it can only optimize your experience and make them to come back to the website or like your app over and over again. There is no human value in, like entertainment can only go so much. That's my philosophy.
I would ask the audience, so Spotify, is there any other value? So education at least is one. And that also applies to Netflix. There can be very, very good documentaries on Netflix.
Yeah, and also ensure that harmful content is not.
Yeah, harmful content filtering that has.
Yes, they have that societal.
So that is a societal level thing. It's a very sensitive area of what can be.
Violence, hatredness.
Yeah. But censorship is generally a difficult topic. So of course some boundaries are needed, but then there has to be very transparent policies on how they are applied. This video we saw was from Netflix. I think they have a pretty good approach to that. But anyway, so going back to, let's say, music. Is there any more value to music?
Can also be distraction.
Sorry?
It can also be distraction. Or
Distraction, yeah, okay.
conditioning.
So the distraction could be like a background music to concentrate while you work. Or
or generally like a big scale distraction to society,
yeah, so you mean that it kind of hides problems or?
in certain ways influencing, in US there are these, these pop stars, their opinions matters, they are, this has become like a culture of influencers.
Yeah.
So now music as while being a form of art, it is also like a tool to influence, to sort of, you have followers and then you can sort of influence the sensibilities of an entire group or community.
Yeah, that's true. So that can work in both good and bad ways. Yes. But what I wanted to actually point that I was trying to focus on is a cultural value. So I believe that culture has a value beyond entertainment. Let's say a local culture. Spotify could boost pride of your own culture.
And they're also getting a lot of traction in the sense I get to know otherwise if Spotify was not there, I would probably have not known about certain music existing, some music in Sahara Desert, something in the indigenous people in the Mali. There are once you have internet connection, you probably have potential to reach anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So it can improve cultural awareness across culture. So and I watch lots of let's say French movies or watch some Bollywood movies and through Netflix, which I wouldn't see if I would just be looking at the TV from Finland. So at least I feel that there is a mind expanding and kind of learning aspect to these services as well, which can be part of the design process. So I hear while coming by here to listen to your discussion, I also heard complaints that you only see the 20 top movies, and that is a problem which I feel they have in the design. That I would like to have more variety. I get the same 20 movies every time I turn it up. I would like to have different movies every time, so that I can get. Or also we go back to.
And as I mentioned, right, even with the recommendation systems, right, you never know what you miss basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That even, I mean, although like it will expose you to a lot of new things, right? You actually do not know what you miss.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another problem.
So that's a transparency problem.
Correct.
So we don't know how it chooses it.
Exactly.
And we don't know why we get some recommendations sometimes and some others at some other points.
And I mean, the whatever topics we are discussing with respect to explainable AI is applicable to explainable recommendation systems.
Yes, so that's this Spotify or Netflix is actually a quite good practical platform to discuss this because there are actually wider implications which are not visible. Yes. Now, my material took a bit longer than a lot of time, but we can a bit squeeze from the group work today. So, I think it should be on. No, it's not. Sometimes it turns kind of off, but now it's on. Can they hear me now? Yes. Good. Now you hear me again. So, principles of ethical design. The video already had a bit of like pointers to this, but I want to go a bit more into detail here. So, of course, transparency is central. So, basically, without understanding a system, we really cannot make fair judgment whether it's good or not. So without knowledge, we cannot know if it has a problem to us. And, is it private or is it safeguarding us or not? So transparency is really central, and it applies to like both the code for the algorithms and code and the data which has been used to train the models, but also the way the application is constructed, so it's systems structure and all the connections it has to other systems. It also applies, like we have to think about also the users, so that it's transparent for the users, but also for the communities. I quite often like to use the home assistant, like Alexa as an example, or Google Home. My favorite example is one of my first real life, like community level examples of problems is that if you have, let's say, a TV which has a Google on it, and you connect it to your account on your phone, it will have a voice history in it. So whoever uses the TV search functions there, all the commands are stored in your voice history. So when your partner now is at home and makes questions to your TV, you can go and hear his or her commands on your phone. Doesn't sound like it's a community effect, so family level effect, or your household level effect, that privacy is violated inside your family. So that's what the voice history is not transparent to the user. The others don't know that you can hear them. And also any other stakeholders here. Like we mentioned the call center application. So it's not only the user, but also the call center personnel who take the phone calls once you have kind of failed with the automated assistant and at the customer service point. Their voices are also recorded. It's also their privacy. Perhaps they have performance reviews where the boss looks at how well they performed. So they have skin in the game when the AI assistant is judged. So accountability. So we need to identify who is responsible. I think the video made a quite good point about this. Quite often the ethical problems land in between group teams. There's a speaker verification team, and there's a user interface team, and there's a automatic speech recognition team. But the ethical problems don't go to any bin of these. Then who is responsible? We need to need to identify and document that and adhere to that responsibility. And it applies throughout the life cycle, of course, from planning to training to data collection, and then introduction to market and maintenance, and end of life. At some point, it finishes the service. What happens to the data and the systems after we have stopped using them? Are they still stored somewhere? Who maintains that storage after the use of that service? Fairness, we already talked about that we shouldn't. We are in the danger of increasing the inequalities rather than solving them. So we should rectify bias and promote inclusivity. And that also applies to the Spotify example, that it is good that we hear other types of music. It is good that we see movies from other places than just US and other, not just your own country, but your also neighboring countries. And privacy, but we have a separate day about privacy. But anyway, so all AI has lots of data, so the privacy exposure is huge. And we need to enable control, but that's a separate day topic, so go to the next slide. So now,
and put ethical AI at the forefront. So how do we do that? Creating ethical guidelines means establishing clear principles that all of your team members must follow. This is as an organization, right? Organizationally, how do we put ethical AI at the forefront? Regular ethical audits, conducting audits to assess project compliance. Did this go the way I wanted it to? Was this outcome something that I thought was going to happen? Is it, what is the metric that I'm trying to meet here? And then ethical checkpoints. Define specific checkpoints during the project's lifecycle where, with ethical considerations, and making sure that you're considering the ethicality, if you will, of the project. And then impact reporting. So after we built it, what does the overall performance look like? What is the consideration that we put in? Did it meet it? Checking yourself in each iteration of that project. And these are some examples of real life groups that have been doing it. So there's Google AI Principles, the global initiative, the IEEE Global Initiative on Ethics of Autonomous Intelligent Systems, Partnership on AI, and then the AI Ethics Lab. These are just a few examples of orgs that are already implemented in the space that I definitely encourage you guys to look further into, Google, understand how it's going.
Interesting that she uses Google as an example, because there's lots of discussion whether Google actually is doing ethical things or not. But they have had good initiatives which have also ended. So I don't know. I'm not the expert on that area. Yes, good. So, empathy, understanding, and involving the user. Somehow I need to look backwards to see my own slides. So I think we discussed this already a bit with the co-design approach, that to really understand these users, the injustice, or I think injustice is already extreme. If they feel discomfort or don't get the benefit of the system that they should be getting, that's already the issue. So systems should not just not have injustice. They should be good. They should be promoting good. But to get to really understand, there's an advertisement going on. Yes, that's all. So systems, yes, so we should get understanding of the users really at the fundamental level, and we need to have more than just questionnaires and observations. So questionnaires and observations are one tool, but they never should be the only tool. So actually, I repeatedly already today talked about how does the user feel. And if you're just an engineer doing your AI models, identifying true positives and false positives, you get no understanding of how the user feels about true positives and false positives. You need to talk to the users. And that then leads to this participatory co-design, where we empower the users as participants. So they really should feel important. They should feel like they are part of the process. So we have, our project, we had problems with that already, that when we talk to migrants, they feel a bit, when we interview them, constantly new and new interviews, they feel used. We are actually, by doing more interviews, we are creating discomfort for them. And that's understandable. I mean, they are also humans, and they have meaningful lives, and if they don't feel that this activity is meaningful for them, it becomes a nuisance.
So that is the reason why the larger companies create what are known as developer community, and user meetup groups in different locations.
Yeah, so the developer groups and user meetups are definitely one way of that. Of course, then the sampling of users is biased. So those who are interested in that will not participate.
Not only that, see, they build that community, they keep conducting events, not only for showcasing their product, they'll do some community activity.
Yes.
So they will have a cross-section of the people in their community.
Yeah. So
it is a painful process.
Yeah.
It will take time to build that user group.
So community activity. So community activities definitely are the right thing. So we would focus on one particular group then. Let's say like 60 to 70-year-old females in Karnataka region with agriculture background. That would be a focus group, and then you have a community meeting for those and learn how they feel about.
See, many of the other engineering colleges students, I think here also, they go out and train the lesser privileged schools on AI or something in computers, how to use computers, they do it. And these people sponsor as a part of the CSR programs.
Yeah.
So that is how they build a good opinion among the community. So
yes.
So that's where we can get people for the beta testing.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the sampling. So really, lots of care needs to be done that you get the sampling, which is kind of distributed, like not just on these two axes, but overall, like on a wide range. Then we come to ethical consideration and potential bias, migration, and so mitigation and diversity issues. So the question is, do we perpetuate or accentuate this discrimination? So we need to analyze that, so evaluate that with the communities. So of course we cannot sample the whole community, but we can take out some samples, and if we have some sufficient coverage, then we can kind of feel confident and we can trust our own system. But then we also need to kind of see if we all, like we discussed earlier, is help the weak ones, and then also the hidden biases issue. There's yes, that's a classic example of hidden biases. I think it was the Second World War. In the UK, they were looking at the airplanes which come back. They have attacked Germany and they come back to the UK, and they saw that there's lots of holes in these wings. We have to make the wings stronger to withhold all these holes in the wings. but there's a bit of bias in there. They didn't see the airplanes which did not arrive, and the ones which did not arrive had holes in the engines. So when they have holes in wings, that means that the wings are not actually, they are meaningless. We don't need, who cares about wings? If there's a hole in the engine, then you come down. So they should make more protections to the engines. So this sort of biases is what are quite often. There was a different example of UK healthcare, that they tried to, based on background data and some diagnosis, that they try to predict what is the likelihood that this person will need treatment in the next 10 years. And if they need treatment, then they should start proactively early to reduce that treatment. But when they did the model, and the model was very accurate on that data, but what they didn't take into account was that some minority communities come less to the doctors. So they are already biased in the data which they had. So now they actually analyzed whether you belong to that minority, vulnerable minority group or not. And that vulnerable minority group needs less treatment because they usually don't come to the doctor. And unless you are aware of these biases, you cannot see them in the outcome. You have to go to the source. And then can anyone use it equally well? And not just perhaps equally well, but can the weak ones get more benefit of it? And we already had the long list of different labels we can look at, and we should try to cover a wide variety of those. And this is now for the engineers a problem because basically everything looks like sparse data, or everything looks like an outlier. And then of course fair distribution of benefits. Especially this fair distribution is difficult in the sense that who am I to judge what is fair? I have certain minorities which I feel more empathy towards. Yes, but is that fair? It's then my bias towards those minorities. We really need to, there needs to be scientific approach to choosing how we, what is fair. And also it's not just something which is fair today, it will change over time. So fairness, especially fairness, is something which needs to be monitored all the time. Now the migrants in Finland, now in the recent years, Ukraine migrants have been receiving much more support than they usually do. And of course that's fair right now. But who knows what happens in 3 years? There's a new crisis and new people arriving, have different needs than the ones we have experienced before. So we need to constantly monitor that. Transparency. And I think I already used that example. Can you explain it to your grandma? That is a good measure. If it comes to a statistical distribution, confidence intervals, I can't explain it to or could not explain it to my grandma when she was still alive. But perhaps you can imagine of some other person you can try to explain it to. And it is hard. Even now, in this meet, today, I've been trying to be very careful about not using VAD as a term because our philosophy department will not know what the VAD is, or ASR or TTS. I don't like acronyms. Don't use acronyms because no one outside the community will understand your acronyms. LLM starts to be, you perhaps know what an LLM is by now, but definitely not VAD. And we really have to work with that. And that's, so the knowledge about the systems how it works, when you explain it such that your grandma understands it, that creates the trust. And that should not be that this is perfect, this explains everything. That's the wrong answer. You should explain it such that you explain that when it's good, how much can you trust it, and so forth. I guess in continuous feedback I also mentioned, so pre-trained models are actually not good because the world changes all the time. So it should be an iterative process with monitor, test, feedback, refinement, user interactions all the time to see what works and what doesn't. And the star rating at the end of an app. So someone told me to have an app. Don't put how we did in your app. You should go talk to the users and see how they feel about your app, how it works. Of course, that's lots of effort. And I would quite a lot say that it's not a replacement, but an added tool. In my work, I'm a scientist. I write journal papers and conference papers. I don't have ChatGPT write them for me. I use it as a tool. Let's say Grammarly, for example. I happen to use Grammarly. It's an AI tool which collects grammar in text. It's very, very useful. I don't accept all of the changes. I carefully review which of them are good. I also, for example, take abstract. I write an abstract for a paper, and then I give it to AI to convert this into plain language. And then I look at which parts of my text was modified, and compare it with the original, and to identify where I should improve. Some parts perhaps I copy, but definitely not all. This comes now from the web page which I showed. I'm not. This is a part which I perhaps we should discuss with our ethics groups here. But the argument is that the common argument is that we want to make sure that humans are in control. The issue is that this feels to me like micromanagement. We are going we are trying to make these fantastic tools, and then we are taking away all the freedom they have to kind of make them smaller. So having complete control of them is exactly what we are trying to, engineers are trying to avoid by using these learning models. But so the question is, what is, we need some sort of control. Currently, I would say that we need boundaries and protections. That would be my answer today. But many think that we as people always need to have the final control over that. So that's a discussion point.
Let's talk about some real life examples. So we talked about how building trust in AI organizations is a key highlight. If I'm a designer, what I want to do is I want to focus on the key aspects of understandability, right? Is this system understandable? Can somebody jump in? And maybe there's a learning curve, but even with the learning curve, have I done my due diligence in designing something that's understandable to the user? Privacy, we just talked about, auditability, fairness. And when we're talking about accountability, if I'm a developer, I need to work closely with designers to build robust AI systems that are going to allow the user to understand the quality and the accuracy of the data that they're giving. And as an organization, I should definitely start thinking about how I can allocate different resources to researching the consequences of the AI systems that I'm building. You know, like what is going to happen if we implement this algorithm into our social media practice? How is this going to affect the end user? You know, these are a lot of big questions, and organizations should be allocating resources to really researching, like, what are the answers? What are the potential consequences to what we're doing? This is what it means to really be accountable for our actions. Fairness. So as a designer, I'm working on mitigating bias and addressing disparities in AI outcomes through extensive strategy and research on user base. You know, as product designers, I know we have these like verticals, like someone's a UI designer, someone's UX, someone's research. But at the end of the day, holistically, like as we're building and growing in our careers, one of the things that is super beneficial and helpful, you know, not only in our practice but in our impact on the world, is being able to really use our knowledge and skills of strategy and research to figuring out how to mitigate bias, figuring out how to address disparities in AI outcomes, incorporating diverse demographics, for example, in AI training data, which basically will allow the system to run its outcomes not on just one like tunneled batch of data, but having diverse data sets means that you're building outcomes for a diverse group of people. Because AI systems are really just what we put into them, right? Like, they're based off of our data. So are we taking data from everyone? Is our sample size diverse enough to feed into the data to make sure that we're being fair, we're being transparent with our systems? And then privacy, as an organization, I aim to build robust user privacy, security, and data infrastructure. I aim to allow users to know how their data is handled and obtained.
Okay, so just a bit more, and then we're done for the day. We all perhaps a bit time for group discussions. Not much today. So now, as a practical kind of viewpoint, as an engineer, most of us are engineers. Interesting question is how does all this influence our working style? So how does our working day basically change from the coding experience, which we already know, when we take into account also the human users here? So this will be an interdisciplinary and intersectoral collaboration. And interdisciplinary refers to, now it's not only engineers, it's also anthropology, sociology, design, business, law, philosophy, and what else? Medicine, perhaps, psychology. So we need to collaborate with all of these experts from different fields. It's also need to be intersectional. And that refers then to, it's not just academic, it's also government officials, it's NGOs and, let's say, migrant groups in my case, and yes, city officials. So there's lots of these different communities with whom we have to talk regularly. Yes, and labor unions, that was not mentioned earlier, but so, for example, now in the call center kind of scenario, the service personnel are represented by labor union. They definitely have a say in, or should have a say in, how the system is implemented. Is it fair towards the employees? And it's messy. It's slow. It's really, in some sense, it's horrible, in the sense of how slow it is. But it gets to a good outcome. And so it needs to be painful to be kind of successful. So you really need to lower your expectations on how fast you get to the goal line. We have spent now almost 3 years in this project, so I'm kind of mentioning here. And we have now first pilot things going on. But most of the time in the 3 years, we've just spent talking on each other, starting to understand how these all expert groups talk about trust and privacy and AI. So just getting the common words for things takes so long time. But once you get there, it's really like mind-blowing. And this is not an American exaggeration. It really is mind-blowing that you start to understand things in a different way, and seeing how kind of big impact you actually have. So I feel like my work now has a bigger impact than before, because I see what effect it has on individuals, or what effect it has on communities. So it makes me feel more proud of my work because I understand the impacts. And that's basically why I'm so excited to tell you these things, that I hope you can feel the same excitement about communities when you go into this type of work. But so we try to seek to understand each other, and that's, I think, understanding is key. It is hard work. No jokes about that. All right. Now I think I'm exceeding my time already so much, like the planned time. I continue with this on Wednesday morning. Tomorrow, Jolly is going to talk about ethics.